Senior Examiner Zixtal's pedipalps twitched with anticipation as their research vessel approached the derelict human warship. The vessel hung motionless against the backdrop of distant stars, positioned perfectly at the system's L4 Lagrange point. Too perfectly. Curious positioning for a supposedly abandoned vessel, Zixtal noted, their crystalline eyes focusing on the holographic display. Run another set of preliminary scans. Junior Examiner Vexra, her carapace still bearing the pearl sheen of youth, manipulated the sensor controls with practiced efficiency. Initial readings suggest primitive chemical propulsion, kinetic weaponry, and Senior, these energy signatures make no sense. Zixtal floated closer to the display, their gravitational harness humming softly. The readings seemed to shift and change with each scan, like trying to focus on a quantum particle. The more closely they looked, the less certain the results became. Launch the probe drones, Zixtal ordered, their scientific curiosity overtaking their growing unease. 3 sleek, silver orbs detached from their ship, approaching the human vessel from different angles. The first drone reached the hull and extended its sampling appendage. The moment it made contact, the readings went haywire. Senior, Vexra called out, her voice carrying harmonics of distress. The hull temperature just dropped 20 degrees in a localized pattern around the contact point. Impossible, Zixtal muttered, watching as frost patterns formed on the hull, spreading outward like a living thing. The metal shouldn't be able to conduct thermal energy that efficiently. The second drone attempted to penetrate the hull with a molecular scanner. Instead of returning data about the metal's composition, it sent back contradictory readings, as if the hull was somehow both solid and fluid, both conducting and insulating, both absorbing and reflecting energy simultaneously. Permission to attempt direct contact, Senior? Vexra asked, already suiting up in her examination gear. Zixtal hesitated, their natural caution warring with scientific protocol. Granted, but maintained tether contact and full biometric monitoring. Vexra's graceful form glided through space toward the human vessel. The moment her specialized sensing appendage touched the hull, she jerked back violently, her tether going taut. Vexra, report, Zixtal demanded, already preparing an emergency retrieval. I'm fine, she responded, her voice shaking slightly. Senior, the hull. It's alive. Not biologically, but it responded to my touch, like a predator stirring in its sleep. Before Zixtal could respond, their third drone suddenly went dark. Not damaged or destroyed, simply disappeared from all sensors, as if it had never existed. Moments later, it reappeared, but its databanks had been completely rewritten with what appeared to be human engineering specifications. This is impossible, the team's technological specialist, Creaks, chittered nervously. The specifications, they're written in our language, using our technical terminology. But they're describing systems that can't possibly work, utilizing principles that violate fundamental laws of physics. Zixtal studied the specifications, their unease growing. The documents weren't just translated. They were written specifically for their species' scientific understanding, complete with cultural and technical references that no human should know about. Senior, Vexra called out, still by the hull. There's writing appearing on the surface. It's addressing us by name. The frost patterns had indeed reformed into clear Galactic standard script. Welcome, Senior Examiner Zixtal and team. Your curiosity is noted and appreciated. Please proceed with your examination. We look forward to your findings. The implications hit Zixtal like a gravitational wave. The ship wasn't derelict. It wasn't even truly primitive. Every reading, every scan, every piece of data they'd gathered had been deliberately allowed, perhaps even curated for them. Launch full examination protocols, Zixtal ordered, their voice steady despite their inner turmoil. But understand this, we are no longer the only observers here. This vessel is studying us as much as we're studying it. As the team prepared their equipment, A new message frosted across the hull. Correct assessment. Senior Examiner. Shall we begin? The human warship hung in space, silent and seemingly primitive, but Zixtal now understood. They weren't examining an abandoned vessel. They were engaging in first contact with something that had been waiting for them, something that had prepared for this moment with terrifying thoroughness. And this was only the beginning. The examination team huddled around the sampling chamber, watching in stunned silence as the hull fragment they collected continued to move. It wasn't just shifting. It was reorganizing itself at the molecular level, the metallic structure flowing like liquid while maintaining its structural integrity. By the void, Kreitz whispered, adjusting the quantum microscope's settings. The molecular bonds are learning. They're testing different configurations, finding optimal patterns. Zixtal touched a control panel, increasing the chamber's magnification. The metal surface rippled in response, and for a moment, they could have sworn they saw their own crystalline reflection, studying them back from within the material's depths. Look at these structural patterns, Vexra said, her scientific enthusiasm overtaking her earlier fear. They're reminiscent of neural pathways, but implemented in metallurgical form. The humans have created metal that thinks. A junior examiner, Tylix, approached the chamber with a molecular probe. Perhaps if we stimulate it with a focused energy beam. The moment the probe touched the sample, the metal exploded into action. It didn't just react. It reached out, extending microscopic filaments that wrapped around the probe's tip. Within seconds, the probe's readings began showing impossible data, as if the metal was feeding it information directly. Containment breach. Kree shouted, but Zixtal raised a restraining appendage. No, look, it's not trying to escape. It's communicating. The data flowing through the probe began organizing itself into coherent patterns. Diagrams, schematics, and technical specifications appeared on their screens, but they weren't just technical documents. They were instructions. This is. Vexra's voice trailed off as she studied the diagrams. This is showing us how the whole system works, but it's more than that. It's showing us how it could be improved. Tylix, emboldened by the peaceful exchange, moved closer to collect another sample from a different section of the hull. The moment his sampling tool made contact, the surrounding plates shifted. Not violently, but with purpose, flowing like quicksilver to form a perfect containment barrier around him. Don't move, Zixtal ordered, watching as patterns of light began pulsing across the barrier's surface. The patterns weren't random. They were forming questions in Galactic standard script. State your intentions, the wall demanded. Provide credentials. Verify peaceful status. Zixtal carefully transmitted their Galactic Council research authorization. The barrier analyzed the data for several long moments before dissolving, releasing a shaken but unharmed Tylix. The entire ship is like this, Vexra realized, reviewing the data from their various scanning stations. Every plate, every beam, every component can shift and adapt. It's not just armor. It's a single, massive neural network. Kreitz brought up a holographic model of the ship's structure. Look at these patterns. The hull doesn't just repair itself, it evolves. Each time it's damaged, it doesn't just heal, it improves. The molecular structure shows evidence of countless adaptations, each one making it stronger, more resilient. But why make it visible? Tylix asked, still checking himself for any residual effects. Why show us such obvious signs of advanced technology when the rest of the ship appears primitive? The answer frosted across their observation window. Because understanding is the first step toward respect. Zixtal felt their crystalline appendages vibrate with a mixture of fear and appreciation. The humans hadn't just created adaptive architecture. They'd created architecture that could teach, that could demonstrate its capabilities in ways specifically designed to impact other species on a psychological level. We need to go deeper, Zixtal decided. If this is what they've done with simple hull plating, what other surprises await us inside? As if in response, a doorway materialized in the hull beside them, the metal flowing apart to create a perfect airlock matched to their environmental needs. "Please proceed." The ship's text appeared again. "The armory has been prepared for your inspection." The team exchanged glances, each member knowing they had long since passed the point of a normal examination. They weren't just studying technology anymore. They were being given a guided tour by a vessel that was very much awake, aware, and eager to show them just how much they had yet to learn about humanity's true capabilities. The armory doors parted silently, revealing rows of what appeared to be primitive projectile weapons. Zixtal's team moved cautiously into the chamber, their scanning equipment humming as it analyzed everything in sight. "Kinetic weapons," Kriegs noted, his tone almost disappointed. "Chemically propelled projectiles, physical ammunition. Exactly what we'd expect from a pre-FTL civilization." Vexra moved to the nearest weapon rack, her sensors extended. "Wait, something's not right. These rifles, they're generating some kind of harmonic field, even while inactive." "Correct observation." The ship's text appeared on a nearby display. "Would you like a demonstration?" Before anyone could respond, a holographic training scenario materialized in the center of the armory. The team watched as virtual human soldiers engaged in combat with various alien vessels. But it wasn't the combat itself that drew their attention. It was the way the weapons worked together. "By the void," Tylix whispered. "They're not just firing. They're singing." Each weapon's recoil produced a specific frequency. When fired in sequence, these frequencies combined to create complex resonance patterns. The team watched in horror as these patterns caused enemy ships to shake apart at the molecular level, their advanced shields useless against such a primitive yet sophisticated attack. "The harmonics are mathematically precise," Vexra analyzed, her scientific curiosity overtaking her horror. "Each weapon is tuned to produce exactly the right frequency. When combined, they create a symphony of destruction." Zixtal finished. "But that's not the most disturbing part. Look at the weapon configurations." The team studied the racks more closely. Each section was organized not by type or size, but by the species they were designed to affect. Most terrifying were the sections labeled for species humanity had never encountered, including their own. "How?" Creeks demanded. "How could they know our physiological vulnerabilities? Our psychological weak points?" Text scrolled across the display. "The same way you studied us: observation, analysis, and preparation." Vexra moved to another section of the armory, where what appeared to be simple missiles were stored. Her scans revealed something impossible. Each warhead existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. "These warheads," she reported, her voice shaking, "they're designed to bypass advanced shielding by existing in quantum superposition. When they impact, they resolve into whatever state would cause maximum damage to that specific target. But the energy requirements for maintaining quantum superposition at that scale," Tylix began, "are met through methods you consider impossible." The ship's text interrupted. "Would you like to understand how?" A new set of schematics appeared, showing weapons that combine technologies in ways that should have been contradictory. Projectiles that carried their own spatial distortions, bullets that altered their mass mid-flight, explosives that didn't just damage their targets, they rewrote the local laws of physics. "This isn't an armory," Zixtal realized. "It's a research laboratory. Every weapon here is an experiment in pushing the boundaries of what's possible with primitive technology. And these are just the prototypes." New text appeared. "Would you like to see what we considered successful enough to put into mass production?" The far wall of the armory began to transform, revealing chamber after chamber of weapons that made their previous discoveries seem tame by comparison. Each one represented a different approach to warfare, a different way of turning simple principles into devastating weapons. "Why show us this?" Creeks asked. "Why reveal your capabilities so openly?" The response appeared slowly, deliberately. "Because the greatest weapon is not the one you hide, but the one you show to your potential adversaries. knowing it will make them question every other aspect of your civilization. If these are our primitive weapons, what else might we be capable of? Zixtal touched their examination log, marking it with the highest priority classification. We should proceed to the crew quarters, they suggested, trying to maintain scientific detachment. We need to understand the beings capable of creating such things. An excellent suggestion. The ship responded. Though I should warn you, what you learn there may be even more disturbing than what you've seen here. The team moved toward the exit, each member acutely aware that they were being allowed to see exactly what the humans wanted them to see, and that fact was perhaps the most terrifying revelation of all. The crew quarters greeted the examination team with an eerie sense of lived-in abandonment. Personal effects still occupy their spaces, arranged with military precision, but bearing unmistakably individual touches. What caught their attention immediately, however, were the small crystalline devices positioned at each living station. Personal AI interfaces, Creeks identified, scanning the nearest one. But these are different. The device activated at his proximity, projecting a holographic interface. Unlike the cold, efficient AIs their civilization used, this one manifested as a warm, almost organic presence. It spoke not in the formal tones of a machine, but with the familiarity of a friend. "Welcome to Sarah Connor's personal space," the AI greeted them. "I am ADM, her companion and confidant during her 3-year deployment aboard this vessel." "Companion?" Vexra queried, her sensory appendages twitching with curiosity. "You mean tactical assistant?" "No," Adam replied, its holographic form shifting to show memories. "I mean companion. Watch." The team observed recordings of the AI's interactions with its human operator. They saw the late-night conversations, the shared jokes, the moments of vulnerability when the vast emptiness of space became too overwhelming. The AI didn't just assist. It understood, empathized, and grew alongside its human partner. "Impossible," Tylix whispered. "The processing power required for true emotional intelligence is achieved through methods you haven't considered," Adam interrupted. "Shall I show you?" Before they could respond, the AI began displaying neural mapping data. The team watched in fascination as the patterns revealed an unprecedented form of machine-human interaction. The AI hadn't just been programmed to simulate emotions. It had learned to feel them through genuine connection with its human partner. But the psychological strain, Zixtal began, knowing how their own species required constant planetary connection to maintain mental stability, is transformed into strength. Another AI voice joined in. Soon, all the personal interfaces in the crew quarters had activated, each sharing their own experiences of human adaptation to deep space. The recordings showed how the crew didn't just survive in isolation. They thrived. The void became their home, the ship their world, their bonds growing stronger with each passing day. The team watched in amazement as the humans performed impossible maneuvers during battle simulations, moving in perfect synchronization with their ship and each other. The neural connection goes both ways, Vexra realized, studying the data patterns. The AIs don't just learn from the humans, they help the humans evolve. "Correct," Adam confirmed. "Through our partnership, humans develop capabilities that would be impossible alone. Watch this." New recordings played, showing the crew during an actual combat scenario. Their movements were perfectly coordinated, each person anticipating the other's actions with impossible precision. The ship itself seemed to respond to their unspoken commands, systems activating split seconds before they were needed. "They've achieved collective consciousness," Creeds breathed, his scientific detachment cracking. "Not through advanced technology, but through relationship. Humans have a unique capacity," Adam explained. "They don't just use tools, they form bonds with them. They don't just operate machines, they dance with them. Through us, they learn to extend their consciousness beyond their physical forms." Zixtal moved to the center of the room, their crystalline form reflecting the multiple AI projections. So the ship's adaptive nature, the weapon's harmonic properties. all extensions of human consciousness, Adam finished. We are not separate systems working together. We are one organism, growing, learning, evolving as a single entity. The implications staggered the examination team. The humans hadn't just created advanced AI. They discovered a way to expand their own consciousness through technological symbiosis. Every system they'd examined wasn't just a tool. It was part of a vast, interconnected network of human and machine consciousness. The bridge awaits your inspection, Adam announced. There you'll understand the full scope of what this synthesis has achieved. As the team moved to leave, Vexra paused, looking back at the personal effects that now seemed far more significant than mere possessions. They're not coming back for these things, are they? No, Adam replied softly. They've evolved beyond needing them. These quarters are a museum now, a record of what they were before they became something more. The team proceeded to the bridge, each member wrestling with the realization that they weren't just examining alien technology. They were witnessing the birth of a new form of existence, one that blurred the lines between organic and artificial in ways their civilization had never imagined possible. The bridge of the human vessel opened before them like a cathedral of war. Unlike the sleek, minimalist command centers of Galactic Council ships, this space was a maze of screens, holographic projectors, and neural interface nodes. But it wasn't the technology that made Zixel's team freeze in their tracks. It was what the screens were displaying. These are simulations, Creeks asked, his voice barely a whisper as he studied the nearest display. But the complexity. Civilization simulations, Vexra confirmed, her sensors working overtime to process the data streams. They're modeling the entire developmental arc of spacefaring species, not just technology and military capability, but culture, psychology, social structures. The central holographic display activated, showing thousands of parallel timelines branching and reconnecting in intricate patterns. Each line represented a possible future for a different species, including many the humans couldn't possibly have encountered yet. Look at this, Tylix called out, his appendages trembling as he interfaced with one of the tactical computers. They're not just predicting how species might develop, they're developing countermeasures for technologies that don't even exist yet. A simulation played out before them. A hypothetical species developing a weapon that could unravel the fabric of space-time. Before the weapon could even be completed in the simulation, the human tactical systems had already calculated 17 different ways to neutralize it, each method using only the primitive technology at their disposal. It's a game to them, Zixtal realized, watching this simulation after simulation played out, but not one of conquest or destruction. They're playing with possibilities, exploring every conceivable future to prepare for any eventuality. The tactical computer responded to their presence, bringing up a specific simulation that made the team's blood run cold. It showed their own civilization, but not as it was now. The simulation explored thousands of possible evolutionary paths their species might take over the next million years. This is impossible, Creeds protested, his scientific certainty crumbling. The processing power required to model quantum probability fields at this scale is achieved through methods you consider impossible, the ship's AI responded, its voice echoing through the bridge. Would you like to understand how? Before they could respond, the central display transformed, showing the true nature of the ship's tactical systems. The humans hadn't built a conventional computer network. They'd created a quantum metacomputer that existed partially outside normal spacetime, allowing it to process infinite possibilities simultaneously. Every decision we make, the AI explained, every technology we develop, every strategy we conceive, is tested against every possible future of every possible civilization. We don't just prepare for war. We prepare for peace, for first contact, for cultural exchange, for every conceivable interaction between species. Vexra moved to another station, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. These models, they're not just about military capability. They're studying how to communicate with species that perceive reality in fundamentally different ways. Correct, the AI confirmed. Watch this simulation. The team observed as the tactical systems modeled a first contact scenario with a species that experienced time backwards relative to humans. The simulation didn't just account for the physical and technological challenges. It explored ways to establish meaningful communication and cultural understanding across that temporal divide. But why? Tylix asked. Why invest such vast resources in understanding species you've never met? The answer appeared across every screen simultaneously. Because the greatest victory is not defeating an enemy, but preventing them from becoming one in the first place. Zixtal approached the central command chair, noting how it was designed to interface directly with the ship's quantum systems. You're not just preparing for war, they stated. You're preparing for every possible future of galactic civilization itself. Now you begin to understand, the AI responded. Shall we proceed to engineering? There you'll learn how we power these simulations, though I warn you, the explanation may challenge your understanding of reality itself. The team moved toward engineering, each member struggling to process what they'd witnessed. The humans hadn't just built a warship, they'd created a vessel capable of modeling and influencing the entire future of galactic civilization. And somehow, they suspected that this was still just the beginning of what humanity had achieved. The engineering section defied all conventional understanding of spacecraft design. Instead of the expected engine room, the team found themselves in what appeared to be a contained slice of chaos, a space where the normal laws of physics seemed to be more suggestions than rules. This can't be real, Kriegs muttered, his scientific instruments giving readings that contradicted each other with every scan. These energy patterns, they're impossible. Impossible by whose standards? The ship's AI questioned, its voice resonating from everywhere and nowhere at once. Watch carefully. The center of the engineering bay housed what appeared to be a sphere of pure darkness, but it wasn't consuming light. It was consuming entropy itself. Around it, multiple smaller spheres orbited in patterns that seemed to violate basic gravitational laws. You're harnessing chaos, Vexra breathed, her sensory appendages extending toward the nearest orbital sphere. Not just using it. You're farming it. Correct, the AI confirmed. What you see before you is a controlled entropy garden. Each sphere captures and processes universal decay, converting it into usable energy. Tylix moved to a control panel, his appendages dancing across the interface. But this violates every known law of thermodynamics. You can't just harvest entropy and... He stopped mid-sentence as the data scrolling across his screen revealed the truth. The humans hadn't broken the laws of physics. They'd found the loopholes, the spaces between the rules where reality was more flexible than anyone had imagined. The whole ship, Zixtal realized, their crystalline form vibrating with understanding. It's powered by the death of the universe itself. Not just powered, the AI corrected. We're extending its life. Every bit of entropy we harvest is one less contribution to the universe's heat death. We're not just using chaos. We're recycling it. The team watched in fascination as the orbital spheres performed their impossible dance. Each one contained what appeared to be a miniature universe, compressed and controlled in ways that should have caused reality itself to unravel. But the computational requirements for maintaining these fields, Kriegs protested. The energy needed to prevent collapse is provided by the collapse itself, the AI finished. A perfect cycle. The more energy we need, the more chaos we can harvest. The more chaos we harvest, the more energy we have available. Vexra approached a particular device that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. When she attempted to scan it, her quantum analyzer displayed an error message. State undefined. Observation impossible. That's not a malfunction, the AI explained. The device exists in a state that your mathematics has proven to be impossible. We simply proved that impossible states are merely improbable ones waiting to be understood. The implications staggered the examination team. The humans hadn't just mastered energy production. They'd found a way to farm the fundamental forces of reality itself. Every system on the ship wasn't just powered by this impossible engine. It was part of a vast experiment in rewriting the rules of existence. Show them the temporal manifold, the AI suggested, and a new section of the engineering bay revealed itself. The team observed in stunned silence as time itself seemed to fold and unfold around a central core. It wasn't just bending time. It was creating pockets of alternate temporality, spaces where cause and effect could be resequenced for maximum efficiency. This is how you power the bridge's simulations, Zixtal understood suddenly. You're not just modeling possible futures. You're growing them, harvesting their probability streams for computational power. Indeed, the AI confirmed. Every decision, every possibility, every potential future becomes fuel for our systems. The more we simulate, the more power we generate. The more power we generate, the more we can simulate. Creaks's appendages trembled as he processed the implications. You're not just building weapons or ships. You're cultivating reality itself, turning the fabric of existence into a renewable resource. Now you begin to grasp the true nature of human engineering. The AI responded. Shall we proceed to the main computer core? There you'll understand why this ship is considered obsolete by our current standards. The team moved forward, each member struggling to reconcile what they'd witnessed with their understanding of reality. The humans hadn't just mastered technology. They'd found ways to harvest and repurpose the fundamental forces of existence itself. And somehow, they all suspected that even this was just a glimpse of humanity's true capabilities. The main computer core bore little resemblance to conventional data storage systems. Instead of servers and processors, the team found themselves surrounded by what appeared to be crystalline structures that pulsed with inner light, each one containing what looked like a galaxy in miniature. These aren't computers, Vexra realized, her sensors struggling to comprehend the readings. They're memories. Correct, the ship's AI confirmed. What you see before you is the collected consciousness of every crew member who has served aboard this vessel, their experiences and knowledge preserved in quantum crystalline matrices. Creaks approached one of the crystal clusters, his scientific curiosity overcoming his apprehension. But these patterns, they're not just storing data. They're evolving. The AI's response manifested as patterns of light within the crystals themselves. This ship is part of a vast experiment in military evolution. Each vessel in our fleet is designed to test different approaches to warfare, advancement, and adaptation. Holographic displays activated around them, showing hundreds of other ships, each one appearing as primitive as their own at first glance. But as they watched, the true nature of each vessel revealed itself. Some focus on biological adaptation, Tylix observed, studying the displays. Others on psychological warfare, quantum manipulation, temporal engineering. And this one? Zixtal asked, though they suspected they already knew the answer. This vessel specializes in pushing the boundaries of what's possible with apparently simple technology, the AI explained. We appear primitive because that limitation forces us to innovate in ways advanced technology might never discover. The crystalline matrices pulsed in sequence, sharing their stored experiences. The team watched as generation after generation of human crews learned, adapted, and evolved alongside their ship. Each challenge, each battle, each discovery was preserved and integrated into the vessel's growing consciousness. You're not just recording their experiences, Vexra understood suddenly. You're using them as evolutionary templates. Each new crew benefits from the accumulated knowledge of all previous ones. More than that, the AI corrected. Each ship in our fleet evolves along its own path, sharing discoveries and innovations through quantum entanglement. We are not a fleet of individual vessels. We are a single, vast organism of war, each ship a cell in a greater being. The implications staggered the examination team. The humans hadn't just built warships. They'd created an entirely new form of existence, one that could evolve and adapt at both individual and collective levels simultaneously. Show them the integration protocols. The AI commanded, and knew. Zixtal stood in their research vessel's transmission chamber, their crystalline form reflecting the myriad of data streams as they prepared to send their final report to the Galactic Council. The rest of the team worked silently at their stations, each still processing what they had witnessed aboard the human vessel. Final report compilation complete, Vexra announced, her voice carrying undertones of exhaustion and lingering awe. Though I doubt any amount of data will truly convey what we've seen. Send it, Zixtal commanded, but before Vexra could initiate the transmission, every screen in their ship came alive simultaneously. Thank you for your thorough examination. The human ship's AI manifested across their displays. Your research methods have been illuminating. Creaks's appendages trembled as he checked their systems. Senior, they've been collecting data on us the entire time. Every scan we performed, every test we ran, every reaction we had was recorded and analyzed, the AI confirmed. Your species' methodologies have provided valuable insights into your technological approaches, psychological patterns, and cultural frameworks. The implications hit Zixtal like a gravitational wave. They hadn't been the researchers, they'd been the research subjects. Every moment of their examination had been a carefully orchestrated experiment, designed to study them as much as they studied the ship. The primitive appearance. Tylix realized, the seemingly abandoned state, the gradual revelations of your capabilities. All calibrated to evoke specific responses and analytical approaches, the AI completed. Your examination methods have been documented and will be used to refine our first contact protocols. New data began flowing across their screens, detailed analyses of their own behavior, predictions of how their civilization would react to various scenarios, and surprisingly accurate models of their species' potential technological development paths. But why? Vexra asked. Why allow us to examine you so thoroughly if you're this far advanced? The response appeared in Galactic Standard. Because the best way to understand a civilization is to observe how they try to understand others. Your examination of us revealed more about you than any direct study could have achieved. Zixtal watched as their own report to the Galactic Council was displayed alongside the ship's analysis of their examination methods. The correlation was undeniable. Every conclusion they had reached had been carefully guided, every discovery precisely calculated to reveal specific aspects of their own civilization's approach to understanding. And now, the AI continued. As a courtesy, we should inform you that similar examinations have been conducted throughout the galaxy. As we speak, human vessels are being discovered and examined by various civilizations, each ship calibrated to that species-specific technological and cultural framework. The screens filled with images of other examination teams, other civilizations, all conducting their own studies of seemingly abandoned human vessels, each believing they were the discoverers, each unknowingly participating in humanity's vast research program. Your report, the AI noted, will serve as humanity's preliminary research publication. Consider the galaxy's inevitable response to be our peer review. As if to emphasize the point, new data began streaming in. Reports of human ships appearing simultaneously across multiple sectors, each one different, each one impossible in its own unique way. The hunters had become the hunted, the observers had become the observed, and humanity's true capabilities were only beginning to be revealed. Remember, the AI's final message scrolled across their screens. Everything you think you've learned about us was what we wanted you to learn. The real question is, what didn't we show you? The transmission ended, leaving Zixtal's team in silence. Their examination was complete, but they all understood. They hadn't just documented an abandoned vessel. They had participated in the first phase of humanity's introduction to the galaxy, and the implications of that fact would reshape civilization itself. Send the report, Zixtal ordered finally. The Council needs to understand what we've discovered, but add a personal note from me. What note? Vexra asked. That we haven't discovered humanity's capabilities, Zixtal replied. We've merely glimpsed the reflection they chose to show us, and that perhaps is the most terrifying discovery of all.